the Go Berserk with Email podcast with Navy nuclear engineer turned email software developer, Troy Broussard. So calm.
I'm pissed off, but I'm telling this because I am teaching you how to think differently and how to test differently.
So patient.
And Ben, that's put $500,000 into this company too, is being told that nobody can find the goddamn bug.
So charitable.
I'm going to start paying bounties every time somebody finds a bug. We're going to deduct $10 for that week.
So trusting.
Do not assume that anything works. Assume that nothing works.
And so sweet, it makes sugar taste just like salt.
I want to play into the sexiness of marketing automation, but I also want to slap the complexity of it.
The Go Berserk with Email podcast begins now.
Damn. What did I get into? Troy, that's not really you, is it? Is that you in the intro?
You stepped in it now, right? Like, here we are. This is full frontal Troy. You got it.
I'm scared though, right? I don't know, man. I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to hang with you, bro.
Pretty intense, right? And, that's kind of the word that has described me my entire life. My mom described me as a teenager as intense. I was so intense in Little League that I gave myself migraines and had to go to a neurologist to understand why I was having all these, migraines. And it was just the stress of being a pitcher in the game that I wanted to exceed every expectation, that I wanted to live up to a certain threshold. Nobody put this on me, by the way. This is just, I don't think you can teach it. It's just who I am. And I've been that way my entire life, right? So just this intensity to focus on everything that I do, and it comes out in passion and energy. Those that know me well know that I am quick to spike in both directions because I just bring full energy into everything I do, right? I don't believe in this concept of doing something half-ass. If you're going to do it right. Do it with something and energy and passion that people are going to respect and commend and be able to look at and take pride in. So at the end of the day, Ben and I created this platform as something that we created for ourselves. And I have to look in the mirror and be happy with what I see. And if I look at a product and there's not the attention to detail by my development staff, we're going to have some choice conversations. There's probably going to be a lot of 4-letter words coming out the other end, and they can either pucker up, buttercup, and get over it, or go work somebody else, because I'm not a jerk about it, but we're here for the product. We're here for the end result. And I don't mince words, and we don't go at it to worry about offense. We are all in alignment. We have different personalities on the team for sure, but we're all in alignment. And that alignment is delivering the best product that we can possibly do. And you know what? When you're committed and you got intensity, sometimes that passion comes out. And that's, I don't hide it. I never have, and I never will.
Yeah, it reminds me of communications with my wife. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. And I'm like, hey, baby, I'm just being passionate. Maybe tell us, Troy, why are we doing this, man? We're on the air. You have been off the podcast circuit forever and a day.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. And I was scared, but now I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm honored and humbled that you've invited me on this journey with you, but why are we all here?
We're here because this is the one thing that I am most passionate about is software development and empowering entrepreneurs. And, we'll talk about it in other episodes, but I'm a big believer in focus. I'm a big believer in discipline. And when we look at the lead domino of business, we look at that lead domino of being an entrepreneur, it comes down to email and communication. Sure, you can do your social media stuff and you can have podcasts, you can have your YouTube channels and your, TikTok and Instagram and all this Facebook groups and all these other things. But all of those are kind of foreplay because the real meat and potatoes of the business comes through email. Email is where the punch is delivered. And if you're not good at that, then really nothing else matters. And I love Metallica. I love that song. Nothing else matters. It's, quote another song, sad but true. But if you're not a good email writer, nothing else matters. So for me, as a software guy, somebody that consulted and taught and worked in the email automation industry for a couple of decades and going through all of that stuff, I wanted to bring my own vision of it as somebody that actually used what I was talking about. It was so frustrating to me as to be this expert and this hired gun and consultant and come in and help people with this stuff and then sit down to this platform. And I'm like, who in their right friggin' mind built this thing? Like, I mean, come on. Have they ever sent an email in their life? Would they build it this way? It's absurd. But the platforms are not built by the people that use them. And so, when Ben and I sat down and started going into this concept and romancing the idea of launching a company together, email was it. Email is what Ben has built his entire reputation and lifestyle and business and future for his children. Everything is built upon email. And for me, it was on the email, on the marketing automation side of email, right? And everything that I had done was based on that. So I just don't think that I could have gone to my grave without having to created my own email platform. That's just the bottom line. Like, I've created a lot of different software companies. I have multiple platforms and companies right now, from app companies and social media. I have all kinds of different stuff that I do in the software space. But our baby is that bright orange berserker, baby. That's it. That's what had to be the core.
I'm kind of curious. How did it come together? Because I like to kind of like, how was it built? How did you guys come together on this? How did you decide to work together? How did you decide who was right and who was, because you both have different things that are important to you. Was it just all unicorns and rainbows, or was it kind of hammering out details of what's important to each of you to deliver the experience to the user?
Well, funny enough, Ben and I, so we got to know each other in Oregon because I would come into town where he lived at the time. He lives in a different town now, but at the time where he lived, I had done a bunch of land development there, and I had a place there as well. And so I would come in a few times a year and we'd hang out, and a mutual third party introduced us, and we started hanging out when I come into town. And he would joke that every time I came into town, the marketing intelligence in the city doubled because it was his and mine, and that was it, right? And we joked that the town was it was a small drinking town with a fishing problem.
A fishing problem.
Exactly, because it was just this little tiny rinky-dink town, but it was a beautiful spot. And so we just got to know each other a little bit, and then we decided to do an event together, a Wine Villains event that we did out in Napa. And during that event, we got to know each other more and just started to go down this rabbit hole. And I think that what has made it successful is the fact that there is a tremendous amount of mutual respect on both sides, and that we both stay in our own damn lane.
How do you guys do that? Because look, running a business, I see this all the time, is like people clawing and fighting over things that they don't need to be fighting over. So how did you guys split that up from the beginning?
It came from the simple fact that we were sitting down drinking one time in Bandon, and Ben said something to me, and he said, I like that you're hungry. You're the first person I've ever met that's hungrier than me. And he wasn't talking about food. He was talking about hungry in business, right? That I just had this passion and energy and intensity and drive. And he's like, you're the first person I've ever met that's more committed and more focused and got more drive than me. And I said, funny, because I was going to say the same of you. Because I felt the same way. I'm like, man, this guy is such a professional, right? A pro to me is the guy that just, man, no excuses, up at the does this thing. He's a pro, right? And that's Ben. Ben is regimented with discipline. Ben is super, super disciplined. And I am a little bit manic in my spurts of energy. And I will come at it and work 23 hours on something. But I come at it, even when I'm on my lows, I'm higher than most people's highs. But when I go really intense, it's off the rails, as you probably heard in the intro. So, that's where I come from. But there was this mutual intensity, mutual commitment. I have never once in the years of working with Ben committed or questioned his commitment. And he has never once questioned or doubted my commitment. Now, we've had disagreements. We've had a few heated debates over stuff. but it's always towards the betterment of what's right for the business. And I think this is really an interesting distinction too, is that most entrepreneurs don't get this because they're doing Me Inc., right? They're doing their own business and they've never really worked with another person or had a partner in their business, et cetera. But when you have a business with two partners, there's really three. There's not two. There's Ben Settle, there's myself, and then there is the business. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be committed to the business first and foremost above your own personal, opinions or expressions. Because I may find something that I'm really passionate about, but it's not in the best interest of the business as an entity, right? Now, I should clarify, I was using that as an example because most people think of it as the business has just Ben Settle and I, but actually his wife, Stefania, is also a part owner of the company. So I don't want to leave her out of that. I was just, for simplicity, most people think it's just the two of us. It's actually the three of us in the business. But it's that being able to kind of separate yourself and look at the business as a whole and make the right decision for the business, even if it's something you don't personally love. Ben and I have always been willing to do that. We also have this kind of veto rule, right? Like where anybody can just lay down the gauntlet. If he is just adamant about something, I'm not going to push back. I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm not that passionate about it one way or the other. So I'm just going to default to it because he's passionate about it. Or if I am like adamant, oh, hell no, we are not doing this, then he'll be like, okay. So we have this respect where either one of us can kind of throw down the gauntlet and we both trust each other that our commitment is to the business first.
That's respectable. And I will, I've known Ben for many, many years, and I second what you're saying about the professionalism and the dedication. So that's why I'm thrilled to be talking with you right now to see what you guys are doing. All right, so you guys have done well. You built this Berserker Mail company. Why the podcast? So we're doing is this like an infomercial? What are we doing? What's the point? Why should anybody listen? Just to hear your rant?
Maybe ranting's good enough for you. I don't know. I definitely do some rants. Ben likes to call them yelling of Troy sessions.
Yelling of Troy.
Yelling of Troy. That's right. But you know what? I've been around the block in this whole world of entrepreneurial space and multiple companies, multiple organizations, different types of companies, different types of experiences, everything from speaking and software and consulting and author. And I've done much of it, right? I've had my own podcast in the past. I've had an SEO company in the past. I've been in this space for a long time. And, hopefully I've learned a thing or two that people will enjoy and get a fresh perspective on. I'm a very contrarian approach to how I do things. I think that people enjoy in the upcoming podcasts episodes, like the next one that we talk about, the help desk, is going to be a very fresh perspective, right? I just have a different approach to how to do things that I think will resonate with a lot of people. But there's one thing that ties it all together and ties everything, and that is email. It all comes back to email. And so this podcast is about bringing that forward, not just the tactics and the hacks and all of that horse shit, but the strategy, right? The commitment, the discipline, the understanding of how to leverage email in your business. I am not a copywriter. I will never describe myself as a copywriter. You won't even hear me describe myself as a marketer. I'm a business person. First and foremost, I'm a businessman. And I look at pragmatic decisions as to how they impact the business. And quite frankly, there is no more important business impacting thing that you can do as an entrepreneur than to be really good at email. And so for me, that's it. That's the whole enchilada.
So we're definitely going to be talking about email marketing, email, and all cascades. It's like the sales and the psychology, the best practices, all those things that make you money. That's what we're going to be talking about, it sounds like. So that's what's in it for the listener. Gotcha. What's in it for you?
I get to come and hang out with you and look at your pretty mug.
Here we go. Hitting on me already, episode 1.
I know it. Rachel's just gonna, well, what can I say? No, look, it's this is fun for me. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I have been my entire life. I enjoy helping people. I've made millions multiple times in my careers and lost millions multiple times in my career. And from that comes a humility and an experience and an ability to empathize and connect at a lot of different levels. Because whether somebody is sending their first email and just getting started and looking to make $300 a month to pay for a car payment, well, anymore that hardly pays for a car payment. It's
right?
It's like a
good
dinner
luck.
out, right? It's like a dinner out. Maybe your cable bill today with inflation the way it is, thanks to Biden bucks, but we won't go there. Oh shoot, we just did. Anyway, it's something that for me, I enjoy connecting with people at those different levels. And I really enjoy helping people avoid the mistakes that I've made. And I've made many of them. That's why I just own up the fact that I have lost it all a couple of times. And I know what it is to be resilient and be able to build it back. But I also know what it is to run an 8-figure company. I know what it is to run a 7-figure company. I know what it is to struggle to make your first 1,000 online. I've been through all of those levels of the journey in my lifetime. And so for me, it would be, in essence, in some ways, kind of selfish not to get out there and try to help people through some of the struggles that they have, right? So yeah, I love doing it. I run multiple coaching programs, multiple software companies, and a good friend of mine has dubbed me Mr. Prolific, right? Because that's just, I don't know how to turn it off, right? One of the hardest things for me is getting more than 4 or 5 hours of sleep at a night because my mind just doesn't turn off. And so this is just an extension of that. This is about me airing my dirty and useful laundry. Some of it's useful, some of it's dirty, but it's all going to come out. And hopefully it's in a constructive process to improve the entrepreneurial life. I was fired from corporate and had to forcibly thrust myself into an entrepreneurial lifestyle. And I know what that's like. I know the pain of that journey. And at the core of all of it, the one thing, that lead domino, is email. So if I'm going to only do one podcast, it's going to be about email.
It's the podcast about email. It's the podcast about improving communication. And it's the podcast about your dirty underpants. Okay, got it.
I didn't go.
Or dirty laundry. Dirty laundry. All right. So what do you have coming up for our listeners in the next episode?
The next episode is going to be fun because we're going to go into a really contrarian stance on how to leverage the help desk to actually grow and build your company. And this is something that I have practiced, developed, and preached in every company I've built over the last several years. And it's just a very kind of contrarian perspective that I think will tune you into flipping the narrative of thinking of the help desk as something you have to do and must do and hate doing and, oh God, we got to support and da-da-da-da-da, and flip that narrative completely into how we can grow and expand our business through the help desk. And that's really what we're going to go into. So buckle up.
Yeah, I like to say from have to do to get to do. So I'm looking forward to that in the next episode. Troy, I'm so glad that we're doing this. Listeners,
I didn't even yell at you or anything, man.
I'm surprised.
Are we in the pocket? I didn't get to yell at him.
I was trying to behave, so you did. I stayed still, so you didn't notice me. Too good, man. I'm looking forward to it, brother. Thank you so much.
To get a free Berserker Mail test drive with no credit card required, go to startmytestdrive.com. From there, you can play around inside the platform without pressure. Load up emails and campaigns to see how simple the interface is, and get comfy with everything before deciding to join. That's startmytestdrive.com.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.